At least that's what Doug says we're gonna do. So
Right.
I
You
don't
better
know.
have fun.
You better have fun. Hey everybody, welcome back to Talk Story Unscripted. My name is Pete, and I've got in the same Zoom room Doug.
That's right. And right
Doug,
here next
come
to me, I'm doing great. I'm excited because we have a very special guest today, Pete. Today's guest is producer Dennis Lee, who is
Hey.
a rock star in my book. How are you doing today, Dennis?
Not too bad. It's good to be on your podcast. This is actually the first podcast I've ever been on.
Today's the day! Woo!
It's the best one ever. We've got like at least 5 people watching at one time. So you know what? You're in for a real treat. Hey everybody, check this out. Look, I've got this cup. I got it in Melbourne, Australia. For those of you who are bird fans, what's the name of this bird, Doug? Do you know?
Ooh, I don't. I recognize it, but I don't know what it's called.
How about you, Dennis? Have you ever seen a bird like this? You ever been to Australia?
No, it's a yellow beak over there. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. It's called a kookaburra.
I knew that.
Kookaburra.
Sounds like a monkey. It's amazing. And where we used to live, we lived next to this reserve, and yeah, they sound like they're laughing. You know, there's that old song says kookaburra
Yeah.
laughs or sings in the old gum tree. Anyway, I can't remember.
Yeah.
My wife was singing for you, but yeah. So anyway, sorry, I had my cup of tea. These podcasts are killing my throat, Doug.
Well, you just got to stop talking so much, Pete.
Okay, I'll just listen to you guys. Dennis, how's it going, man? You're the producer, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. When we have opportunity to be able to create something, hopefully I can produce something, out into the world.
I've seen you work, and I've actually did some work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't know what a producer is, the producer is the guy that produces, and lots of times that deals with finding funds to produce creative things. Is that right? Would that be that's a simple way, I know, of saying it.
Yeah. Well, most people I talk to, they say, what does the producer do? And I said, well, everything above the line, everything that they do is basically from funding to writing. So you have to know almost everything in one way or another.
Bring all the pieces together, right? I mean,
yes.
You're at the higher level, pulling all the strings. Dennis, the project that you and I've been working with you. You brought me in to work with you, which I have been so grateful to be a part of. Is actually coming out in just a few days. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
The documentary called "A Witness to Aloha."
That's right. I tell you what, Dennis, this has been one of the most amazing projects that I've ever worked on. What an incredible story. Can you tell us just a little bit about, I know it, but can you share with the audience a little bit about what this documentary is about?
Sure, Doug. The documentary is really based upon 200 years of Christian advancement in the islands of Hawaii from a perspective, from the people from here. And we're looking at, this is something that has been part of the 200th anniversary of the first Christian missions that arrived and helped set up a church called Kawaiiao Church. It was a collaboration between the Li'i, which were the leadership or the kings and queens of the island, and the missionaries from the East Coast, particularly from Boston. 200 years ago, they arrived on the shores of the Big Island, then to Oahu, which was the other island that actually has that actually had a place where they built Kawaiiao Church. And through that process, they developed a relationship between a collaboration, in other words, between the Ali'i and the missionaries that brought forth a fantastic educational system, and also music, worship, the Word of God that was eventually translated to Hawaiian. So it was a pretty amazing journey that you and I have been on for about, at least, I think for you for the last year, and for me for at least a year and a half on this, learning really about Hawaiian history through all the resources and books and the archives and pictures, and it was just amazing experience, amazing journey.
Yeah,
Yeah, can I ask? Sorry. Hey, I get to ask all the questions, Doug, because you already know everything.
I thought your throat hurt.
It does hurt. That's probably why, because I can't keep my mouth shut. But Dennis, I just wanted to going back to, you said about a year and a half.
Mhm.
Going back to that moment, tell us how things transpired. I mean, how was somebody approach you, or did you come up with the idea and approach them, or what happened? How did it all come together?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. From a spiritual standpoint, it's been longer than a year and a half. It's been probably a lifetime. And my start in Hollywood, as a producer and an actor. But through this process of rediscovering myself, and especially rediscovering the Lord, Jesus Christ, into my life, I realized that the things that I did in Hollywood really didn't amount to anything unless it was for Him. So through that process, I believe that He's led me to this point where I had certain type of supernatural encounters that happened along the way that led me to a point where I felt that Kawaii'Hao Church was the place that I was supposed to be. Like, this was at least 3 years ago. I didn't know what for and why, and at that time, what am I doing at a Hawaiian church, but through patience and through some crazy revelations and challenges that happened at that church, little by little, God opened up these doors, and come to find out that had a lot to deal with a facet of my life in which I didn't have before my time in Hollywood. So I was raised and brought up as a Christian, but totally forgot the Lord for many years. But He's instilled in me this desire to do missions work into the world. And through that process, I really discovered so much about the history of Hawaii and how missionaries were such an integral part of the growth of the island, both mostly positive, and there were some definitely negative things. So back to the question, how did I come upon this is that I feel that it was supernaturally done, just being led by the divine force that the Lord has in my life, realizing that it's not just about myself, it's really about getting the message of who Jesus is into the world, through the media and arts.
That's so good, Dennis. If I could just add on to that, as far as personal connection to it goes, I moved into the place that my wife and my daughter and my family live at now, and every floor of our apartment has a theme of old Hawaii. So one place has a theme that's like old Waikiki, and then you have some just of different time frames in Hawaii. And our floor is Kawaii'Hao Church, and that we moved into that apartment 5 years ago. And so when this project came up, every day I walk by a plaque right by my door and by the elevator of Kawaii'Hao Church right there. And so I always would see it every day. And then when you brought up this project, that was like, wow, I've been a part of Kawaii'Hao before I was even a part of this project. And then there was a number of other things that I won't go into right now, but that was really made it personal for me as well, getting into this project. And it's been really cool how God has tied different people together into telling the story of these Christian missionaries that came here and the work they did with the leaders of Hawaii. Beautiful story. I feel like it's so unknown, and I'm so excited and grateful for being a part of bringing it to the world.
I just wanted to add to that too. I mean, I think it's very important to realize the question that arises too is when people say, "Oh, Dennis, how did you get to this point, and how did the Lord bless you in this and that?" And I just say, the bottom line is this: is that you got to learn how to listen to the Lord. See, that's really the key. How do you discern what He says? Is it through an audible voice? Is it through the Word of God? Is it through friends and family? And I would say it's all of the above. many times I think that sometimes we may get like this information, like from my mother, where she dreamt about certain things that opened up that door, or even from my wife. She's telling me that I actually met my future wife actually at Kavaihau also. Mm-hmm. And so for me, listening to the Lord was always a challenge, because I guess many of us do listen, but who are we really listening to? You know what I mean? Is it ourselves? Is it the enemy? Is it really of God? So it's that's always been the difficult part. But I think it gets easier if we decide to walk the walk and talk the talk. I think it's very important to be obedient and at least attempt and try to be something that the Lord wants us to be. And in that way, I feel like he knows who we are, and he knows that if we get too much at one time, for myself, then I kind of go overboard and things. Yeah. But for me, I think it has been a step-by-step process. And I think advice that I would give anybody out there is, just listen to people, and just pray about it, and listen to your heart, and let the Lord talk to your heart if this is the right way to go, and he'll usually answer many times.
Yeah.
Doug, I told you, I've been trying to tell Doug this. He thinks the way to hear from God is when he eats pizza at midnight. He has these really weird dreams, and next thing you know, he's making doctrines out of us.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, there's something to it. I saw the pizza on the wall. What does it mean?
Shouldn't have ate pizza at midnight.
I actually did that last night, actually.
Don't brag about it. Don't brag about it. No, it's really great. It's really awesome to hear that, Dennis. I mean, you've taken it straight to where is really most important. Yes, I believe God gives us all different talents and things and passions of and things that we love to do. Maybe one person could be a story writer, another person loves editing, another person loves shooting film and digital film is what I call it, whatever it might be. But the bottom line is where's this passion coming from, and who's leading and guiding you? And that's exactly what you were saying, Dennis. That it was definitely a God thing. He's led you here. And I love how you say that it's been a long journey. It didn't start a year and a half ago. And, having said that, the journey doesn't end when the thing gets released. When is it going to be? On Sunday or
No, it's actually April 26th.
April 26th. Okay. So from there, it's going to be born. I mean, I was talking to Doug earlier. Doug, remember we were talking this morning, and you said, yes, I'm going to be able to release this thing, and then the baby is born.
Yeah.
And it's going to be released,
Yeah, well, it's been just over 9 months, I think, since my involvement on the project.
Yeah.
So,
oh,
that's definitely feels like a birth.
Yeah. What
yeah,
are your
I'm saying,
expectations? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying that. Yeah, I believe that God brought in Doug at the right time, at the right place, and it's been a joy. Definitely. His experience and his expertise has brought a total new look to it, that brought in something that that I feel is going to really make a difference in the world. Through his skills as a writer and also as an editor. Helping to put it all together where I think it's more palatable, for the that younger generation too, So.
Well, thanks, Dennis. I really appreciate you saying that, man. And I mean this when I say it. I really value and appreciate you bringing me on board, because I'm not just saying it to say it. This is the biggest project, the biggest story that I've ever been a part of. I feel like it should be in Hollywood. I mean, you can't write the kind of content, the story that of what happened here, and the fact that we have so much available in the archives and in the journals and in the history to pull from, to share the story, and all the different people that you've pulled together with historians and people at Kavaihau Church, people that they brought together, historians and archivists, to collaborate, put their heads together, and keeping a close eye on it to say, hey, you know what? This date wasn't 1821; it was 1820. I remember I was talking to one guy, and I showed him a picture, and he says, I said, does this work for him? He goes, no, that picture doesn't work. I said, how come? He says, because the roof is corrugated. That wasn't at that year yet. You have to go back a couple more years because they didn't have corrugated roofs at that time. I'm like, wow, we're really getting, close eye to make sure we tell an accurate story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, looking forward now, like, you're about to launch this thing. Do you guys have any expectations, Dennis, starting with you? What are your expectations? What are you thinking this is going to do?
Well, okay, I've had a couple movies in the past where I produced which failed miserably, and then there's a couple movies that I did that were very successful, and that made a lot of money and stuff. But I think for this particular film, success is not gauged by monetary value for this. I think it's really going to be dependent on, I feel that and I do believe that it is of the Lord, that there's going to be, even if it engages one person and makes a difference with this one person's life, then that's well worth it. But the way that I see that the film is focused on, it's really empowering, and especially for the Native Hawaiians who will view this, I believe they'll see a part of the history that hasn't really been told as much as the other part. That's because there has been a bit of a subjugation of the Christian agenda for the last many, many years. And it's not really an agenda, it's just historical facts. It's been subjugated, it's been pressed down. So I think that now with this documentary, they'll see a part of their history as well as the history of the island, where they'll kind of go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. And we just hope that they'll be able to be as curious as me and Doug and wanting to research more. I mean, we found ourselves many times sitting next to each other and finding out information and going, oh my gosh, we didn't know this. Oh gosh, we're so excited about some of the history that we were finding out through all the people that we've been talking to. So the question is we do like to see it to be successful, of course, but I think the success is going to be kingdom success. I really feel that way.
Yeah.
Cool. How about you, Doug? What are you expecting? What are your expectations for this?
Well, I agree with Dennis 100%. And any projects that I've been a part of thus far, that has been a huge part of the goal, was, to share the message of Christ in a way that people can hear it and receive it in our own unique, creative way. And so my hope, along with Dennis's, is for that, because there's a lot of negative perspective on the Christian missionaries to Hawaii, which brings a negative perspective to God. And then hearing what actually happened when they came here, when the Christian missionaries came here, which is exactly 200 years ago to this time frame that they just arriving. It's mind-blowing of all the good things that came out of them coming here and being here. And it wasn't just the missionaries being superheroes. It was them working and collaborating, like Dennis said, with the leaders of Hawaii. And it was one group of people working with another group of people for the betterment of all. And you could see God's fingerprints all throughout. You can see God's movement all throughout.
Wow.
Anyway, my hope is that we have a healthy perspective of God's people and of God.
It sounds like we're going to get some truth on the matter. That's one thing I don't like a lot, is how there's a lot of rewriting of history. And it sounds like this documentary will set some things straight, which sounds awesome. I'm so happy for that. Can't wait to see it. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this can't wait to see it or want to know how to see it. So, guys, how can they see it? Where is it going to air first? What's the deal?
Yes, it's actually airing first on KITV. It's going to be Sunday, April 26th at 6 p.m. So Sunday, April 26th at 6 p.m. on KITV. And then after that, we'll probably be showing it here and there. But that's where they'll be able to tune in and see it.
Yep. And
now, actually, that brings up a good point. With this whole, COVID-19 and the stay-at-home quarantine, that really shook you guys, because I left to go to Australia to visit my son, and then I come back and Doug tells me everything that happened. You guys should share a bit about that, because there was going to be a premiere that was going to air was it going to be played at the church, correct?
Yes, we're having a screening. Yes,
Yeah,
red carpet premiere, everything. Yeah.
So what happened?
But it's okay. I mean, so we were getting ready for this premiere that we were going to bring in this big screen at the church itself. We invited all the sponsors and who were part of the documentary, as well as the congregation and the audience. We're sending out invites and everything. And then just when all that started going out, that's when the coronavirus started spreading all over the world. And it just dawned on me too at that time, and we actually have it in the documentary. Approximately 200 years ago, the same thing was happening in Hawaii. There were diseases that hit the islands that were really killing so many of the native Hawaiian people, and it just was like the timing of it was just very interesting, and so that's what happened. So we had to cancel it, but now everybody's at home really with nothing to do except watch our documentary now. So we're probably going to have a larger audience, actually, not only in Hawaii, but possibly worldwide too.
That's awesome. That sounds great. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing it.
It's also going to be, after it shows on KITV, it will be being shown on Kalo TV as well, the week following that showing. So excited for that as well. And I just want to say this is an awesome experience, and I'm prayerful. You guys can join with me to be prayerful that God will use this in an awesome way, not just here in Hawaii, but like you're saying, all over the world.
We really appreciate your time, Dennis, and stay healthy. And I'm sure that both of you are probably just finishing up and tying the loose ends up, and no pressure, but you're almost there. I'm excited to see it. I have seen bits of it in its early stages. I haven't seen it in a while, so can't wait to see the final product. And I'm really excited that you guys are speaking truth and really, bringing people to, or allowing people to understand what really happened, the true story. So we look forward to it. And the name of it again is?
Doug?
A Witness to Aloha, which is really cool because Jesus said in Acts, I think it's 1:8, he told his disciples, "You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, and to the utter ends of the world." And that's what Hawaii is, the utter ends of the world from Jerusalem. And we are his witnesses, the witnesses of Aloha. What does Aloha mean? Anybody?
Love.
There we go. Yes, witness to love. So talking about being a witness to God's love through Kabaihau Church and everything that the missionaries did.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Hey, well, God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.